As you stand at the edge of the cursed well, the whispers of the Wailing Sisters claw at your mind. Chills run down your spine as cold, ghostly hands seem to reach out for you, and the shadows dance at the corners of your vision. Will you dare to confront the darkness, or will the icy embrace of the well consume you as well? Welcome back to Lo-FAI Urban Legends, where we delve into the darkest corners of AI-generated tales and mysterious urban legends. I'm your host, Lo-FAI, and tonight's story promises to chill you to the bone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated on our latest creepy AI-generated stories. If you have an idea for a story or a prompt you'd like to see transformed into a terrifying tale, leave a comment below. We just might feature your idea in an upcoming episode. Gather around, dim the lights, and let the haunting melodies of our lo-fi music set the stage for a tale of terror and tragedy. The whispers from the abandoned well beckon you into their world, where ancient whispers and ghostly apparitions haunt a cursed well. Will you heed their call, or will their chilling embrace claim you as well? Let's find out in tonight's eerie tale. My fascination with the abandoned well started when I was barely 12, on the day I moved to the rural town of Hollow Oaks. The well stood at the edge of our property, its structure overtaken by ivy, weathered by time, and shrouded in an eerie silence. It was as if the earth itself had forgotten it existed. My parents warned me to stay away from the well, but the more they cautioned, the more I found myself drawn to it. I would often watch it from my bedroom window, convinced that the whispers I heard in my dreams were emanating from its dark depths. One gloomy autumn afternoon, I mustered the courage to approach the well. My heart pounded in my chest like the beating wings of a trapped bird, and the air grew thick with the taste of fear. As I reached out to touch the crumbling bricks, a chilling gust of wind wrapped around me like an icy embrace, whispering to me in a language I couldn't understand. For the first time, I felt an inexplicable connection to the well, as though it was reaching out to me, begging for my attention. From that moment on, I became obsessed, yearning to uncover the secrets hidden within its shadowy depths. Over the years, my obsession with the well only intensified. I began to notice that strange things happened in its vicinity. The air around it would grow colder, the scent of damp soil and something far more sinister lingering in the air. Birds refused to sing in the trees nearby, and insects seemed to avoid the area altogether. Even the most fearless of wild animals seemed to give the well a wide berth. The whispers from the well haunted my dreams, transforming them into nightmares that left me drenched in sweat, my heart racing as though I were fleeing from a faceless predator. The voices were indistinct, but they seemed to be pleading with me, desperate for me to understand something I could not yet grasp. In the daylight, I began to see flickering shadows in the periphery of my vision, always just out of reach, retreating when I turned to confront them. They seemed to be watching me, waiting for something. The hair on the back of my neck would stand on end, and I could feel their cold, unblinking gaze, like icy tendrils brushing against my skin. I became consumed with the need to understand the whispers, to decode their message. I spent hours researching the history of Hollow Oaks, searching for any clue that might explain the well's mysterious allure. As my investigations led me deeper into the town's history, I discovered the tragic story of the Wailing Sisters. There were 3 young women named Abigail, Margaret, and Eleanor, daughters of respectable families in Hollow Oaks. They were known for their beauty, intelligence, and kindness, qualities that should have ensured them a bright future. However, in the year 1692, Hollow Oaks was gripped by fear and paranoia, as rumors of witchcraft spread like wildfire. Innocent women were accused of consorting with the devil, their lives destroyed by the whispers of their neighbors and friends. It was in this climate of terror that the Wailing Sisters found themselves accused of dark and unnatural practices. The accusations against them were baseless, fueled by the envious whispers of those who resented the sisters' beauty and charm. Nevertheless, the sisters were arrested and subjected to a sham trial, where they were found guilty of witchcraft. Their punishment was to be drowned in the very well that now haunted my every waking moment. On a cold autumn evening, the sisters were led to the well, their hands bound and their eyes blindfolded. Their cries for mercy fell on deaf ears as the townspeople, consumed by fear and superstition, looked on with cold indifference. One by one, the sisters were forced to the edge of the well, their screams of terror echoing in the darkness as they plunged into the icy water below. Their bodies were left to rot in the well, a grim reminder of the price of witchcraft. And so began the legend of the Wailing Sisters, their restless spirits said to haunt the well, their anguished whispers a constant reminder of the terrible injustice they had suffered. My heart ached for these innocent women, their lives cut short by the cruelty and ignorance of those they had once called friends. It was then that I vowed to uncover the truth, to bring their story to light and, perhaps, to find a way to free their tortured souls from the well's shadowy depths. My pulse quickened as I continued to delve deeper into the town's dark history. It seemed that every few decades, someone in Hollow Oaks would become obsessed with the well, just as I had. They would begin to hear the whispers, see the shadows, and ultimately, they would disappear without a trace, never to be seen again. The realization sent a shiver down my spine, as if I could already feel the cold hands of fate reaching for me. The fear of sharing their fate began to consume me, and yet the whispers from the well grew louder, more insistent. It was as if they were trying to warn me, to protect me from the very darkness that had claimed them. It was on a stormy night in late October when I experienced my worst night of torment. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and the wind howled through the trees, their branches scratching at my window like the desperate fingers of the Wailing Sisters themselves. The rain beat against the glass, a mournful rhythm that echoed the pounding of my own heart. Exhausted, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, willing sleep to come, yet dreading the nightmares that awaited me. My mind raced with thoughts of the sisters, their tragic story consuming my every waking moment. My eyelids grew heavy, and despite my fear, I finally succumbed to sleep. My dreams were more vivid than ever before, a chaotic maelstrom of swirling darkness, anguished screams, and the cold, unrelenting embrace of the well. I found myself standing at its edge, peering into the inky abyss, the sisters' voices calling out to me, begging for release. The wind howled around me, its icy fingers tearing at my clothes, chilling me to the bone. I could feel the despair and terror of the sisters as if it were my own, their pain seeping into my very soul. My heart raced, my breath coming in short, shallow gasps as I fought the overwhelming urge to leap into the well, to join the sisters in their watery grave. Suddenly, the ground beneath me began to tremble, and the well's dark water surged upwards, reaching for me like the arms of a vengeful specter. I stumbled backward, but the water pursued me, flooding the room and swallowing everything in its path. I fought to keep my head above the rising tide, my lungs burning with the effort to breathe. The water was ice cold, numbing my limbs and draining my strength. I knew I couldn't keep this up for much longer, and the fear of drowning clawed at my chest, threatening to drag me under. As I gasped for air, the Wailing Sisters appeared before me, their faces contorted with pain and sorrow. Their eyes locked onto mine, pleading for help, for salvation. Their outstretched hands reached for me, but the dark water pulled me away, drowning their cries as it threatened to claim me too. My heart pounded in my ears, and I struggled to wake myself from this nightmare, to escape the suffocating darkness that enveloped me. The line between the dream world and reality had blurred, and I could no longer tell which was which. Panic seized me, and I fought with every fiber of my being to escape the terror that held me captive. With a final, desperate effort, I wrenched myself from the nightmare, my eyes snapping open as I gasped for breath. My sheets were soaked with sweat, and my body trembled with the aftershocks of terror. I lay there, clutching the blankets to my chest, as the storm continued to rage outside. That night marked a turning point for me. I could no longer ignore the sisters' cries for help, nor could I continue to suffer the torment that haunted my every moment. I resolved to confront the well, to face the darkness that had consumed my life, and to do whatever it took to free the Wailing Sisters from their eternal prison. The shadows seemed to grow bolder, creeping closer, their whispers growing more persistent, more desperate. I could no longer ignore them. They were no longer just whispers, but urgent screams that echoed in the darkest corners of my mind. It was as if they were demanding that I confront the well, as if they knew that only I could unravel the mystery that had haunted Hollow Oaks for centuries. One fateful night, when the moon was hidden behind a thick veil of clouds, I finally succumbed to the whispers. I was compelled by a force beyond my control, as if the Wailing Sisters themselves were guiding my steps. My heart pounded wildly in my chest, and every breath felt like a struggle, as if the very air around me was conspiring to suffocate me. As I approached the well, the shadows seemed to close in around me, their whispers now an incessant cacophony in my ears. I could feel the weight of their anguish, their desperation for release. My hands trembled as I reached out to touch the cold, damp stones of the well, my fingers brushing against the rough surface that had stood as a silent witness to so much suffering. The moment my skin made contact with the well, the whispers ceased, and an eerie silence enveloped me. The air grew colder still, and a dense fog rolled in, swallowing me in its suffocating embrace. The shadows seemed to come alive, swirling around me, their tendrils reaching out to caress my face, my neck, my arms. The world around me seemed to fall away, and I found myself standing at the edge of a vast, murky lake. The water was black as ink, its surface a mirror that reflected the tortured faces of the Wailing Sisters, their mouths open in silent screams. Their eyes, once filled with terror and despair, now held a glimmer of hope as they gazed upon me, their would-be savior. My heart ached with sympathy for these lost souls, and I knew what I had to do. I stepped forward, allowing myself to be consumed by the darkness, feeling the icy water envelop me as I sank beneath the surface. The cold was unbearable, 1,000 needles piercing my skin, but I refused to give in to the pain. The pressure of the dark water increased as I descended, the sisters' screams growing in intensity, filling my ears and my mind. Their voices, once individual cries of despair, now melded together into a haunting symphony of suffering that resonated in the very core of my being. I could feel their pain as if it were my own, their terror and their longing for release threatening to engulf me in their darkness. Yet, despite the crushing weight of their anguish, I refused to let it shatter my resolve. I drew upon every ounce of strength I had, pushing through the oppressive blackness, determined to find the Wailing Sisters and release them from their watery tomb. As I reached the deepest, darkest part of the lake, the water seemed to thicken, the cold becoming almost unbearable. It was there that I found them, the Wailing Sisters, their lifeless bodies entwined in a macabre embrace. Their skin was as cold and pale as the water that surrounded them, their eyes vacant and devoid of life. And yet I could still feel their spirits, their souls trapped in a purgatory of eternal torment. Summoning a strength born of sheer desperation and unwavering determination, I reached out to their entangled forms, my fingers numb and aching as I broke the icy bonds that held them captive. The moment I did, their spirits seemed to surge upwards, their screams of anguish transforming into cries of relief and gratitude. Their voices, once a cacophony of pain, now echoed through the darkness like a celestial choir, a testament to the power of hope and redemption. The water around me began to churn violently, a whirlpool of darkness that sought to drag me back down into its cold embrace. I struggled against the current, my body exhausted and my lungs screaming for air. But as the spirits of the Wailing Sisters reached the surface, they did not abandon me to my fate. Instead, they extended their ethereal hands to me, their cold fingers wrapping around my wrists with a strength that belied their ghostly forms. As they pulled me upwards, I felt their gratitude, their love, and their determination to save me just as I had saved them. Together, we ascended through the dark waters, the sisters' luminous spirits lighting the way as they guided me back to the surface. As we broke through into the moonlit night, I gasped for breath, my body shaking with exhaustion and the sheer magnitude of what I had accomplished. I had faced the darkness and the terror that haunted me for so long, and I had emerged victorious, the Wailing Sisters finally freed from their eternal prison. And so, our journey into the harrowing world of the Whispers from the Abandoned Well comes to an end. With a fierce determination and the help of the tormented spirits, our protagonist finally set them free from their eternal prison. Thank you for joining us on this chilling adventure in Hollow Oaks. And now, as promised, we'll dive into the murky depths of your darkest thoughts. It's time for our mini Creepypasta segment, forged from the twisted minds of our viewers. Your comments are the key that unlocks the door to the haunted recesses of our imagination. I'd like to share with you another eerie story that was inspired by one of our very own community members. I'm not even sure left a cryptic message that captured my imagination. Or as I like to say, alongside Route 4 is a cornfield. Don't piss me off, I keep a shovel in the trunk. As a YouTuber, I had heard many urban legends and creepy stories, but none hit closer to home than the mysterious comment left by I'm not even sure. Intrigued by the sinister implications, I decided to investigate the cornfield along Route 4. It was a humid summer evening when I parked my car on the side of the road and entered the cornfield with my camera. The tall, green stalks rustled softly, and the soil beneath my feet felt damp and cold. I couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister was lurking just out of sight. I continued deeper into the field, following the faint whispers carried by the wind, until I stumbled upon a small, barren patch of earth. A lone shovel stood upright, its blade partially buried in the soil. It appeared old and well-worn, its wooden handle chipped and scratched from years of use. As I reached for the shovel, an icy chill ran down my spine. The whispers grew louder, and I could now make out the voices of people pleading and begging for mercy. Their cries for help echoed through the field, and I felt an overwhelming sense of dread wash over me. I had to uncover the truth. With each shovelful of soil, the whispers became more desperate, urging me to stop digging. but I couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that there was something buried beneath my feet. After an hour of digging, my shovel struck something solid. I cleared away the soil and discovered a weathered, wooden box. My heart raced as I pried open the lid, revealing several small trinkets and a tattered journal. The journal's pages were filled with the confessions of I'm not even sure, detailing their disturbing deeds and the countless souls they had buried in this cornfield. Horrified by the chilling discovery, I realized that the whispers were the cries of I'm not even sure's victims, their spirits trapped within the cornfield. I sprinted through the corn, the whispers growing more frantic and sinister. The feeling of being watched was suffocating, and I couldn't help but think that I'm not even sure was still out there, watching my every move. As I finally broke free from the cornfield and reached my car, I vowed to expose the secrets of the Route 4 cornfield and bring justice to the souls trapped within its depths. But one thing still haunts me. What if I'm not even sure is watching this video right now, plotting their next move? Before we conclude today's video, I'd like to share a chilling story inspired by Leroy Porkins. The idea immediately intrigued me. Tune in next week for I Have an Itch That Keeps Moving. Something is under my skin. I'd been plagued by a relentless itch that seemed to move across my body, always one step ahead of my desperate attempts to find relief. No matter how much I scratched, it never subsided. I could feel something crawling beneath my skin, burrowing deeper with each passing day. The itching became unbearable, driving me to the brink of madness. I sought the help of doctors, but they were all baffled by my condition, dismissing it as a figment of my imagination. But I knew better. I could feel the truth wriggling just below the surface. One night, as the itch reached an agonizing peak, I locked myself in my bathroom, armed with a pair of tweezers and a determination to end the torment. I pressed the cold metal against my skin, where the itch was strongest, and began to dig. As the blood welled up and pain seared through my body, I finally found it, a small, writhing creature that looked like a twisted, darkened thread. Its minuscule form was grotesque, its very existence an abomination. As I pulled it from beneath my skin, it fought to stay attached, burrowing deeper in a futile attempt to escape my grasp. When the creature was finally free, I could see its tiny eyes, filled with malice and hatred. I crushed it between my fingers, relishing the end of my nightmare. But as the life left its body, I felt a sudden chill run down my spine. I glanced at my reflection in the mirror, only to see hundreds of tiny eyes staring back at me from beneath my skin. The nightmare was far from over. Our chilling stories, haunting narration, unsettling images, and eerie music are all woven together by the mysterious threads of AI generation. The ethereal collaboration between man and machine has crafted this otherworldly experience for your morbid delight. If you enjoyed tonight's tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated on our latest creepy AI-generated stories. If you have an idea for a story or a prompt you'd like to see transformed into a terrifying tale, leave a comment below. We just might feature your idea in an upcoming episode. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your ears tuned to the whispers of the night. Sweet dreams, and remember, there's always a dark legend waiting to be told on Lo-FAI Urban Legends. Good night, and may the shadows protect you.